In late May, the CRTC released a report recommending that Netflix and other media streaming services and internet service providers pay a tax to help fund Canadian content. Joining us now for a look at the likelihood of that, Greg O'Brien. He is editor and publisher at CART.ca. That's a cable and telecom industry news site. Greg, first of all, thanks for driving in from Hamilton today.
Oh, no problem.
Because that can be a messy drive. Second of all, CART stands for what?
Cable, radio, television, telecom.
Okay, CART.ca is where we can look at your stuff. The CRTC, as we suggested, recommending these new taxes on internet streaming, on Netflix and this type of thing. Why are they making that recommendation to begin with?
Well, they were given the job back in the fall by the federal government to come up with a report that looked at all of the ways Canadians consume video content and how they might consume video content in the future, and how all that's paid for in Canada. Because we've got a whole system of ways in which Canadian content gets paid for, whether it's a CBC, TVO, what Bell Media produces, Rogers, Chorus, doesn't matter. There's always contributions being made into the system. So the government said to the commission, tell us what you think, tell us where you think it's going to go, give us some recommendations, some ideas about what we might need to do.
It is being floated, or I guess nicknamed, an internet tax or a Netflix tax. Is that the best way to actually characterize this thing?
Well, if you want to think about it in a negative way, sure. The Netflix tax is the way to go, or ISP tax is what they're proposing. And if you want to look at it that way, that's really what they're doing. But at the same time, the CRTC knows that the Supreme Court has already said you can't tax ISPs because they're not broadcasters.
Internet service providers.
Exactly. You can't tax them.
Okay.
There are rules right now where you can't really make Netflix, you can't force Netflix and others to contribute to Canadian content because of the laws the way they are right now. So what the CRTC did with this report was to say, here's the way we think it should go, but we can't really change it. So here you go, politicians, over to you.
Over to you, figured out. Well, but the CRTC is they're not using the word tax. I think they're using the word contribution. Is that different?
It is, because you can make a contribution to the system by, not just by money. You can force Netflix, force Amazon, force YouTube, whoever, to say, okay, you've got to take 10% of what you show to Canadians and make sure it's Canadian content. So they're not taxing them. They're saying you have to have a proportion of your content be Canadian, just like the Canadian broadcasters have to do in prime time.
Now, at the moment, Mélanie Joly, who is the Heritage Minister in the current federal government, has said no new taxes on internet service providers and so on. However, things do change. If this ever were to happen, where would the money go?
Probably the Canadian Media Fund.
Which is what?
So the Canadian Media Fund is primarily funded by yours and mine, whoever's cable bill, satellite TV bill, IPTV bill, whatever you get regular TV on. So 5% of that flows to the Canada Media Fund and some other independent production funds as well. So the problem with that is it's going down. Fewer and fewer people are subscribing to cable TV, for example. So that's dwindling, and the government is trying to top it up a bit because part of that fund comes from the government as well. So the government's trying to top it up as we go, but they can see the trend is it's dwindling down.
Let me get your opinion on this. Rogers, Cogeco, these more traditional cable companies, which do have to pay taxes and have to collect it from their subscribers, they say they are at a competitive disadvantage because organizations like Netflix or Spotify, or the ones you just mentioned, don't have to charge this tax, and therefore the more traditional cable companies are at a competitive disadvantage. What do you think of that argument? Well,
and that's the part where it gets a little bit muddy, because most people agree that Netflix and Amazon and everybody else should be collecting sales tax, 13%, because if you take Netflix and Crave, equal price, both showing over-the-top streamed content, Crave is at a competitive disadvantage at the till because they're 13% more expensive than Netflix, because Netflix doesn't have to collect the HST. And neither does Spotify or Google Drive or the Facebook ads I buy or Amazon Web Services. A whole bunch of stuff does not have to collect HST.
Does that sound unfair to you?
Absolutely. They should have these foreign operators at least collect HST. Now, that does come out of yours and my pocket. These aren't just things that, Netflix is going to send a bunch of money off to people, but they should be collecting HST.
So if you do believe in a sort of, what's the expression everybody uses, a level playing field, you would want to treat, if you were the broadcast regulator or the government, you would want to treat Rogers in the same way that you treat Netflix, or the other way around, I guess. You'd want to treat Netflix in the same way you treat Rogers, in as much as they're both in the content creation and providing business. So why shouldn't they both have to charge harmonized sales tax? Is that right?
Exactly. But the secondary point to that is, do you equalize them in terms of, because if you look at Rogers Media and City TV, they have to present and produce a certain amount of Canadian content and pay for that, and they have programs of national interest that they have to pay for. There's all sorts of things that they have to do that the Netflix of the world don't.
Should they be obliged to, the Netflixes of the world?
Should they? I'm not sure. Should we take a look at this entire system and say, look, instead of taking 5% of everybody's cable bill, the federal government, we've agreed, let me pretend I'm a politician. So I'm the federal government, and I've agreed that funding Canadian content is a good thing. Mm-hmm. Does it have to come out of my cable bill? Does it have to come out of an ISP bill? If we as a federal government think it's a good thing, then why doesn't it come out of general revenues? And we stop tacking on the extra 5% onto people's cable bill, or think about doing an ISP bill. Maybe it should just come out of general revenues. Some goes to the CBC already at the provincial level, some goes to TVO. Maybe from a federal level, we should take that, depending on how you count it, it's $500–600 million. That should just go into a fund, right out of general revenues, forget about taxing everybody, and decide what Canadian content you're going to make out of that.
So that's our argument, in effect, not for taxing Netflix and Spotify and all the others, but in fact for taking the taxing obligation off of the more traditional cable service providers. Is that right?
Right.
Huh. And do you think that's the way to go?
I think it's the way to go. I think it's definitely a way to consider a way to go. But there's still other things within the system that make it a little bit unfair for broadcasters and foreign over-the-top providers when they come together. Because these broadcasters also have news obligations, 14 to 21 hours a week of news obligations that they must do, that are expensive, that don't pay for themselves, that the foreign companies don't have to do.
They don't have that as well. All of this is premised on the notion that Canadians want good quality Canadian content, but given the economies of scale that we don't have in this country compared to the States, anyway, the list is long and we know what's on it. It's premised on the notion that we actually want this. Do you think there is evidence for the fact that Canadians like, enjoy, want to support good Canadian content and are prepared to sort of pony up a little extra to take into account all of those economies of scale that we don't have?
Personally, I think so. I think that most Canadians recognize that we are small in the grand scheme of things, and there has to be some sort of funding for content made and produced for Canadians by Canadians, because really it's an industrial strategy. It's jobs. Mm-hmm. It's as simple as the government supporting Bombardier, so there's aerospace jobs. So I think Canadians do want that, but when they sit down to be entertained, that's a different decision, because you're sitting down in front of the TV, turning something on, hey, I want to be entertained by whatever it might be. And if it happens to be Canadian, you're probably thinking, oh, cool. But you don't sit down to look for a Canadian drama. You're just looking to be entertained.
Nobody sits down and says, it's important to me to have Canadian jobs in the media, film, television industry in this country, and therefore I'm going to watch this program.
Well, that part always gets skipped over. Like, there's hundreds of thousands of jobs in this industry that are at stake as this world changes.
Which is why provincial governments all over the place are offering tax breaks to make movies and films and so on. Absolutely. In those jurisdictions.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, with a few minutes to go, let me ask you about the overhaul of the Broadcasting Act, which we hear governments, from time immemorial, say is out of date, and we need to update it to take into account of all of the technological changes that have been made. That is still going ahead, is it not? Like the attempt to update the Broadcasting Act is going ahead?
Right. So the federal government, Melanie Joly, told, once they got this report from the Commission, she put a panel together of experts who are going to look at not just the Broadcasting Act, but also the Telecommunications Act and the Radio Communications Act. Because all of this, they all have little pieces over the content industry, the telecom industry, the ISP industry. So they're going to look at it as a whole. So this is going forward. So we're going to see a number of changes lobbied for. And the president of Chorus lobbied for one last week, where he thought foreign ownership rules for broadcasters should come down. Now, the federal government has already said, we're not going to consider that for broadcasters. They might for telecom companies. Because if you look at Chorus is competing in this world where they're big in a Canadian context, but when you look at what Disney is doing, wanting to buy Fox, and for $70 billion, for $70 billion US, you could buy both Rogers Communications and Bell Communications pretty much. You know, and Corus is just not that big. You know, and then take it to a Netflix aspect. Netflix is going to spend $8 billion just on content, on producing content this year. $8 billion is more than the combined annual revenue of Corus, Bell Media, and Rogers Media all combined. So these are huge, huge, huge companies that are expanding all around the world. And it's impacting broadcasters all around the world too. And you see, countries like France and Germany are also taking steps against this as well.
What do you think should be the overarching mission of a new Broadcasting Act?
Oh boy, I should be on the panel, I guess, to think about that. You know, we've really got to reanalyze the entire system. It's been built, like the original Broadcasting Act was written in 1968, the year I was born. It was updated again in 1991, hasn't been touched since. Now, if you read that act, along with the Telecom and Radiocom Act, they're actually pretty technologically neutral. You know, they don't need a whole lot of updating if you read it in a certain way. But there are certain things that have to be done to, you know, at one point, let our companies do what they need to do, you know, service Canadians, and then also have those foreign over-the-top providers contribute somehow to the system, to the jobs here. And they're doing it. I'm not saying they're not doing it. Netflix is making movies and TV here all the time.
They've committed to spend $500 million, I think, have they not?
Exactly, but that's spread over 5 years. So that's something like, you know, 1% of their of their content budget.
For them, yes, indeed. In our last 10 seconds here, is there a deadline for which the government says it will have a renewed Broadcasting Act ready to show the public?
Sort of. There's a preliminary report by this panel due in June, and then their final report's not due until January 2020. So it was an effective way for them to punt it till after the next federal election.
That is exactly right. Okay. Greg O'Brien from CART, and if you're checking out his work, that's CARTT.ca. Thanks so much for coming into TVO tonight.
Thanks for having me.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario, helping businesses stay on the right side of change with strategic thinking, insightful decisions, and business leadership. Are you on the right side of change? Ask an Ontario CPA.